This is the first of 8 sessions we have in store for you today. We've got a couple of great customer stories from Device Technologies and Petra, and you'll also have the chance to hear from our business partners, RevTrack, Diligent, Beyond Trust, Ping, and SAP. So I'm Ed Davis. I'm a director with Turnkey Australia. I've been working in the IT security and risk space for around 25 years now, showing my age a little bit. I started off learning about managing risks in SAP systems at PwC back in the 90s. And following that, I moved to the UK, where I was on Shell's global SAP rollout for around 10 years. And that was the largest rollout at the time. That's actually where I met Richard Hunt, our founder and CEO. And I also met Nick Vallis, who's on the call with me here today, who's our director in Malaysia. I came back to Australia and joined up with Turnkey about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, actually, and started up the Melbourne office where I am today. So welcome to our session on managing key challenges and trends in managing risks across the APAC region. Just like to introduce the team here with me today. So we have Barun Kumar, who's here in Singapore. Want to just give a quick intro of yourself, Barun?
Sure, Ed. Hi, everyone. My name is Barun. I'm a director with Turnkey Consulting in Singapore. Very similar to Ed, I have been in cybersecurity space for almost 25 years. I started my career with KPMG, worked with KPMG first in India and then in Singapore for almost 10 years before I started to work with Richard. I have worked across different areas within cybersecurity domain. SAP security and identity and access management are my 2 key focus and areas that I'm very passionate about. So hopefully, as you go along with this Risky Business conference today, you would be able to hear a lot from our experience in these areas.
Excellent. Thank you, Barun. And then I'll get you, Nick, to introduce yourself.
Yes, good morning, Ed, and good morning to everyone. My name is Nick Vallis. I'm the director from Turnkey Malaysia. Maybe I'll show my age as well. I started my career in the late 90s, really in Australia for Zurich Financial Services, supporting and deploying SAP security solutions and GRC solutions. Then I sort of moved to the Netherlands and worked on one of the largest global implementations, as Ed mentioned, and that was Shell Oil. And then I found myself on the way back to Australia, but I sort of had a stopover in Malaysia and decided to set up a business in 2013. And somehow I've been able to get back to Australia. So I have done, a full sort of 3 span continents. And here I am in Malaysia, with Turnkey Consulting after so many years.
Thanks, Nick. Great to have you with us. And finally, we've got Marianne here, who is a principal consultant with Turnkey in Australia, based up on the lovely central coast of New South Wales.
Hi, Ed, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, I'm Marianne Wagner, and I'm a principal consultant at Turnkey Consulting in Australia for just over 2 years now. And it's been an interesting journey so far. And I've been in the SAP industry mainly in governance, risk and compliance and security for way over 25 years now. And I've worked on many international projects. And then I've moved to Australia about 6-7 years ago and worked for SAP Australia before I've joined Turnkey. And for the past few years, we've been extending our focus to data privacy and governance, and that's what I will share with you today. Thank you, Ed.
Great. Thanks, Marianne. So the format for today is really a question and answer style. I'm going to be the host. I'll be asking the team here some questions on various topics and covering the topics across identity and access management, data privacy, and managed security services. So I just want to start with you, Barun. So on the topic of zero trust security models, and because of zero trust, identity and access management, IAM, has become a really big topic in cybersecurity discussions these days. I guess since the disappearance of corporate networks in the cloud age, identity really has become the new perimeter for security. So how are you seeing this unfold across Singapore and across our region? And how is IAM becoming integral to a zero trust approach?
You're absolutely right, Ed. The way we work has changed profoundly in last few years. I think earlier we used to have a clear demarcation between people who are internal to the organization and people who are external. We used to have internal networks and external network, and you could very clearly demark people saying who are my internal users versus external. With the new way of working, where people are working from office, from their home, from cafes in some cases, it has completely changed the way internal and external users can be classified and trusted. So what has happened is that people have become the new perimeter. The firewalls are no longer the perimeters of your organization. It's people who are the perimeter. We need to ensure that people have the right access at the right time for the right reason. And that is essentially what identity and access management tries to address. Now, what we have seen is that this also gels with the zero trust model, wherein the whole basis is that we should not trust people. We should not trust, in fact, anything actually. And that is what IAM also supports. It basically ensures that people authenticate themselves, they prove who they are, then they only have authorization to what they need. We don't give more access to people. We ensure segregation of duties are properly addressed and so on. So what we have seen is that in this region, and I believe that this is a global trend also, people are really looking up to IAM as a solution to this new way of working, ensuring security and controls in this new environment. So this is something which has become integral part of any cybersecurity framework, any cybersecurity strategy in this region.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks, Barun. And I guess IAM's widely positioned as an enterprise-wide solution, but we're seeing many companies having challenges rolling it out beyond the initial set of applications. So what's your advice for companies trying to ramp up their IAM footprint across the organization by onboarding multiple applications in a shorter time frame?
That's a very good question, Ed. So usually when we talk about IAM, it's usually not a small project. It's usually a journey for any organization which has taken an IAM program. Most of the organizations, they have hundreds of applications. The beauty of an IAM solution is that it can give you a central visibility and central control over access across these applications. Now, it is not possible to go big bang and onboard hundreds of applications in a few months program. So what most company does, and what we at Turnkey call, is we go with something called a minimal viable product, which is essentially a fully operational IAM system with a small set of 5 or 10 applications with the key functionalities that is really useful and critical for the organization. Now, beyond that, the whole idea is to expand the footprint, make sure that we cover all the applications in the organization. Now, the challenge comes because there are a lot of stakeholders. We are talking about multiple application owners, both from a technical aspect as well as from the business side. We need to deal with the compliance and the auditors. And it all requires a lot of coordination apart from the technical challenges of integrating applications with different technologies and so on. So what organizations need to do is they need to start off realizing this journey. They should not assume that within 3 or 6 months they're going to onboard all their application. So set the right expectations. As part of the initial deployment, they also need to ensure that they have a framework, or they build a framework for onboarding applications after that minimal viable product is up and running. They need to come out with probably a factory model, because if we are going with a few applications every month, it is probably going to take forever for onboarding hundreds of applications. So what is required is a structured process with the right governance framework to ensure that applications are onboarded into the IAM in a very fast, in a very structured manner. It is possible. We have done it with a lot of our clients. All it takes is a very structured approach with the right framework to go about it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Varun. Yeah, I think that sounds like a really logical approach to break it up and have a structured framework for making sure that they do get through all of the applications in the right priority and meet their objectives. So next, I just wanted to talk to Marianne a little bit about data privacy. So obviously this is a very topical area at the moment. We're seeing a lot of data breaches, cybersecurity attacks in Australia and across the region and around the world. This problem's only going to grow, and there's more and more regulations coming in to try and combat it. But it really is a bit of a wrestle between the organisations and the bad actors. So I guess what are some of the main drivers behind data and information breaches, Marianne?
Yes, Ed. There are quite a few drivers behind why there are information breaches, and I think one thing is clear: customer data is valuable, and hackers want it. Knowledge is power, and data is a commodity, and we are seeing an exponential rise in the value of intangible and digital commodities such as cyber and data. And this trend will continue in future. So, in order to be preventative, let's look at the drivers behind hacking information to be aware of. And one is vigilantism and hacktivism, which includes revenge, political or social incentives, protests, desire to embarrass certain organizations or individuals, and company rivalry or just pure vandalism. But then there's also monetary gain and reputation, which is financially motivated criminal conduct. Or hackers are just looking to show off their advanced technical knowledge and abilities. But then they are also using the marketplace and forums to sell stolen data and credentials to other criminals willing to pay for them. And that is known as liquefying stolen assets into money. But then don't forget about cyber insurance fraud. So this data breach triggers the insurance companies to pay out the policy with insider profiting. And but there's also concealed intent. The bad actors use the data compromise to conceal the real intent. For example, to gather intelligence and get paid by competitors. And we see that quite a lot. So these are just to name a few.
Yeah, great. Okay, thanks for that. And what about artificial intelligence? Should this be a growing concern for protecting our data privacy?
Well, as AI and machine learning technologies continue to advance, yes, there is a growing concern that cyber criminals leverage AI-powered ransomware to make ransom attacks more targeted and more sophisticated. So while many companies use AI for the greater good, hackers unfortunately deploy AI for their nefarious goals, which is not good. So they can use AI to identify vulnerabilities. They craft convincing phishing emails and adjust their attack tactics in real time, posing a significant challenge for organizations. So it is really a constant war between organization and hackers for data. And organizations must really ensure that they are always one or two steps ahead of hackers in protecting their data information. And there are preventative ways to do so through proper governance and procedures.
Okay, great. Yeah, so what are some of the things that organizations can do to prevent those data privacy attacks?
Hey, that's a good point. So one thing could be organization must extend their cybersecurity program to focus specifically on data and information privacy and governance. I think many companies do have a cybersecurity program, but the focus should channel into data privacy specifically. For example, to perform data risk assessments, check your data policies, your data identification process, your classification of data, data locations where it's stored. And yes, also regulation and legislation are growing in this area in every country, and trying to stay abreast can be a daunting task. However, there are specialized consulting services available, secure applications that can be used, and also software as a service that can definitely assist organizations to get this in place.
Okay, thanks, Marianne. It's quite
Okay.
a bit to think about.
Yes, it is.
There to protect the data privacy. So yeah, it's definitely a growing challenge for a lot of organisations.
Indeed.
All right, Nick. So as we mentioned, we go back a long way together, probably 20 odd years since we started working together back in the Shell days. And you've recently celebrated a milestone in Turnkey Malaysia.
Correct, Ed. We're 10 years old this year, so it's been a long journey and a great feat, and really have, I suppose, say that we've built something that's quite valuable as well around managed services as well. So we are sort of the hub of Turnkey when it comes to MSP for our customers.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I know we've got at least half a dozen or so clients down here using your managed services, and it goes really well. So the managed service provider landscape is showing several noticeable trends. So what are some of the trends that you're currently seeing?
Sure. From what I can see, Ed, the managed services or the MSPs in our region are showing some interesting trends, different to what they were many years ago. So one that I've noticed is really the need to be cybersecurity focused. You know, with the rise of cyber threats, MSPs are offering more comprehensive cybersecurity services. For example, threat detection, compliance as a service, and also security awareness training. So we are seeing that trend at the moment. Another one is obviously, as we sort of had to go back to remote working as a result of the pandemic, there's been a big increase in IAM and PAM services as an MSP. So it's prompted a lot of the MSPs to provide services for remote infrastructure management and secure remote access as well. Another one is which has always been there, but it's taken more of a it's more of a theme these days, is around IT skills shortage mitigation. So as we're very well aware, many organizations face challenges in finding and retaining IT talent. So a lot of the MSPs are sort of leading and trying to close those gaps when it comes to sort of skill shortage. So they're trying to bridge that skill gap that currently is playing out in the marketplace. Another one, I'll say the most interesting one, is the sustainability initiatives that some MSPs now are incorporating into their practices, into their services. So obviously that's something that's globally is growing. There is emphasis on environmental responsibility. So a lot of the MSPs are also building that into their services as well.
Okay, some really interesting trends occurring there. Now, as Marianne alluded to, the increasing complexity of data privacy regulations, many organisations are seeking managed services that can help them achieve and maintain compliance with various standards. How are we currently tackling this ever-increasing requirement?
Sure. So I see many ways on how some organizations are addressing these challenges. For example, I see many are conducting data privacy impact assessments, so DPIAs, to identify and mitigate privacy risks associated with data processing activities and ensuring compliance with regulations. Example would be GDPR. Another example I see as well around data mapping and inventory. So this is around maintaining an up-to-date inventory of personal data and understanding how it flows within the organization. I mean, that's quite critical. So several MSPs have sort of various tools and solutions to assist in the automation and the process of data mapping and inventory. Another example is access controls and encryption. So this is around implementing access controls and encrypting sensitive data, which is fundamental to data protection. So MSPs have started to include solutions for access management and encryption into a lot of their managed services as well, based on what they're seeing in the organizations in regards to the challenges. And a final example, which obviously is probably a big one, is the incident response plan. So preparing for data breaches and having a well-defined incident response plan in place, is quite crucial as well. So MSPs have started including monitoring and response capabilities to help organizations detect and also respond to the breaches.
All right. No, very, very critical points you mentioned there, Nick. Thanks for those insights. So I think that concludes the Q&A part of the session, or my Q&A part. So it's over to the audience now for your questions. If you do have any questions, please put them in the comments box, and we'll answer anything that you may have on your mind. So just while we're waiting, I think, Varun, I just wanted to ask you one more thing about with IAM projects. I think one of the areas that's got to be a key focus is the quality of the data that goes into those systems. How do you deal with ensuring the data quality for an IAM solution?
You're absolutely right, Ed. Any IAM program relies a lot on the quality of data. Simple examples. For example, we want to automate the assignment of certain roles or certain access to users based on the department or the designation. If we have an issue with HR data where either the department information or a designation information is not there or is not accurate, this will adversely impact the kind of access that the user has. Even from an access request or an access review perspective, what usually happens is that a business user is looking at the access that they want to request, or a manager is looking at an access they want to review and decide whether the user should have it or not have it. Now, if that access is not clear enough for a business user to understand, if it is a too technical description, or if it is misleading, that can also result into a wrong decision or wrong request. So essentially what we have seen is that the importance of data quality can't be overstated in case of an IAM program actually. And what we do is, as part of an IAM program, we need to budget for some time and effort for the data cleanup. No organization, however mature they are, will have all the data in the right format available in the different IT systems. There are discrepancies in IT systems. There are data which is available, there are data which is probably inaccurately maintained in the different systems. So as part of the IAM journey, IAM program, we need to budget for some time. We need to look at different systems once we have onboarded them into the IAM to have the visibility, review the data quality, give some time where we can go back to the application owners and get the data corrected or completed where it is missing before we move on with the automation of access control or access management. So what we generally do as a principle is we put a gap between gaining the visibility on the current user and role information and automating the access management for the user. So that gap is basically to ensure we understand the data, we review the data, we ensure it's complete, is accurate before we go to the next step of automating the user access provisioning. So that is one of the things that we do. Of course, there are a lot more that can be done. In fact, we have a white paper which is available on our website, which talks about different aspects of data quality in an IAM program, how important it is, and how we can basically address it.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Varun. I suppose it's like any other IT project. You've got to get the data right, otherwise garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. In fact, I would strongly encourage all the audience here to go and look at that very nice white paper. It's part of the Turnkey's Key Insight program. You can go on the website and look for that. It provides very nice insights into how you can go about addressing those data quality issues.
Good. Thank you, Varun. So if there are no other questions coming through the chat, if you do have any questions you'd like to ask us, you can contact us at info@turnkeyconsulting.com. We'll be happy to answer them. So it's been a pleasure having you with us. Hope you've enjoyed this session. There's plenty more coming up today, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.